The Jewish Land by Rabbi Dosick. Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, has been central to Judaism since its very beginnings. The covenant that God made with Abraham included the promise of land, which would eventually come to be known as Israel, as an everlasting homeland for the Jewish people. Unto your seed I will give this land. Genesis chapter 12, verse 7. Lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward, eastward and westward, all the land which you see, I will give to you and your seed forever. Arise, walk through the land, its length and breadth, for I will give it unto you. Genesis chapter 13, verses 14 to 15 and 17. I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of Chaldees to give you this land to inherit it. Genesis chapter 15, verse 7. And I will give to you and to your seed after you the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession. Genesis chapter 17, verse 8. When God told Moses to go to Pharaoh to tell him to release the Hebrew slaves, it is so that God would be able to fulfill his original promise to Abraham. I have come down to deliver them out of the hands of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land unto a good and large land, a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanite. Exodus chapter 3, verse 8. The journey of the children of Israel through the desert has a clear destination. Joshua, the successor of Moses, is told by God, prepare to cross the Jordan, together with all this people, into the land which I am giving to the children of Israel. Joshua chapter 1, verse 2. There is no doubt as to where the land is. In speaking to Moses, Exodus chapter 3, verse 8, God lists all the tribal inhabitants of the land. In precise detail, the borders of the land, north, south, east, and west, are described by God to Moses. Numbers 34, verse 2 to 12. When God charges Joshua with the responsibility of bringing the people into the promised land, he carefully sets out the boundaries. Joshua chapter 1, verses 4 to 5. From the moment in approximately 1200 BCE that Joshua fought the Battle of Jericho and the children of Israel entered the land God had promised to their progenitor, Abraham, Jewish history unfolds in that place. A loose confederation of judges ruled until approximately 1030 BCE, when the monarchy was established and Saul was anointed king. In approximately 1010 BCE, King David established Jerusalem as the political and spiritual capital of the land. In 950 BCE, King Solomon built and dedicated the Beit Ha Mikdash, the Holy Temple, as the centralized locale for worshipping God through the sacrificial rite. The land of Israel was often the target of foreign invaders. In 722 BCE, the Assyrians destroyed the kingdom of Israel, leaving only the small kingdom of Judah as the independent Jewish homeland. Other countries used Eretz Yisrael as the bridge from east to west and from west to east as they tried to conquer other nations and dominate the world. Despite its political woes, the land of Israel was the place where the prophets, 750 to 450 BCE, taught the enduring values of spiritual faithfulness and social justice. In 586 BCE, the mighty Babylonians conquered the land, destroyed the Beit Ha Mikdash, ended Jewish independence, and sent the people into exile. Yet it was an exile that would not last long. In 538 BCE, the Persians defeated the Babylonians and permitted the Jews to return to Eretz Yisrael. There the Holy Temple was rebuilt, and religious reformation took place, and sovereignty was eventually re-established. As the Greek world spread its influence throughout the ancient Middle East, Israel came under Hellenistic and then Roman domination and rule. In 70 CE, the Romans conquered the land, destroyed the Holy Temple, and sent the people into another exile, one that this time would last almost 1,900 years. During these almost 2 millennia, Israel was ruled by the Roman and Byzantine empires, 586 BCE to 614 CE, the Persians, 614 to 629, the Byzantines again, 629 to 638, the Muslim Arabs, 638 to 1099, the Crusaders, 1099 to 1291, the Muslim Arabs again, 1291 to 1517, the Ottomans, 1517 to 1917, and the British, 1917 to 1948. Yet there was never one moment when some Jews did not live in the land. They were not independent. They had no self-determination. They were subject to the laws of the ruling power, but they were there, Jews, in the Jewish land. The Jews outside the land lived in what they termed galut, exile, or diaspora. No matter where they lived, what language they spoke, what king of flesh and blood ruled over them, whether they were oppressed or comfortable in the lands in which they lived, the exiled Jews and their descendants for more than 19 Jewish centuries never gave up the hope and the desire to return from exile to a restored and re-established Jewish homeland in Israel. They were never really at home anywhere else. In reality and in spirit, they were always in exile from their rightful homeland. Not for one moment did the thought of Eretz Yisrael leave the mind of any Jew. Wherever Jews lived, they prayed facing east, toward Israel and Jerusalem. 3 times each day, Jews prayed for an end to the exile. Sound the great shofar, proclaiming our freedom. Raise the banner to assemble our exiles and gather us from the 4 corners of the earth. Oh, gather us in peace from the 4 corners of the earth and restore us triumphantly to our homeland. Oh, may our eyes witness your return to Zion. Return in mercy to Jerusalem, your city, and dwell in it as you have promised. Rebuild it in our day as an everlasting habitation and speedily set up the continuation of the throne of David. For almost 1,900 years, at the end of every Passover Seder and at the end of Yom Kippur prayers, Jews cried out, "Next year in Jerusalem." No matter how long the exile stretched on, Jews were always confident of eventual restoration and return. For together with God and Torah, Eretz Yisrael, the promised land of Israel, forms the essential foundation of Judaism and the Jewish people.